committee of the whole is back in order. Colleagues, we are now on amendments. I've asked Senator Gumatauta to move my amendments that are once again the housekeeping and nature amendments that were introduced and discussed at the opening of the revenues chapter. Senator Gumatauta, you're recognized on SB 266 CMD L2 5P67.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, as the Chair mentioned, it was a document, the important corrections needed, and this is one of the amendments in that from line 2 through 5, page 67, to amend line 2, section 1, chapter 5D, Guam Veterans Affairs to read 1. Appropriation, the sum of $1,246,443 is appropriated from the general fund to the Guam Office of Veterans Affairs for its operations for fiscal year 2027, and we ask the Clerk's Legal and Office of Finance and Budget to make any technical corrections. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
On the amendment, are there any objections? Seeing and hearing none, amendment passes. We are now on the next amendment, SB 266 CMD L3-6P116. Senator Gumatauta, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, corrections here for line 3 to 6, page 116. Mr. Chair, it will read now to amend section 1 to chapter 5 HH. In commission to read appropriation the sum of $726,566 is appropriated from the general fund to y comisión y financiamento zani fin historian zani ilalata tautano y commission for its operations for fiscal year 2027. I ask the clerks to make technical corrections there, and sorry for the technical incorrections on my chamorro. Thank you.
On the amendment, seeing and hearing no one, amendment passes. On the next amendment is SB 266 CMD L3-6P121. Senator Gumatauta, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, again, important corrections that were needed, line 3 through 6, page 121, to amend section MM to chapter 5, Guam Homeland Security, to read 1. Appropriation, the sum of $1,485,963 is appropriated from the general fund to the Guam Homeland Security Office of Civil Defense for its operations for fiscal year 2027. Again, it errantly read Guam Ethics Commission. Ask the Clerk's Legal and Office of Finance and Budget to make any technical corrections.
On the amendment, seeing and hearing no objections, amendment passes. Next amendment, Senator Gumatauta, you're recognized.
Yeah, this will be SB 266 CMD L5-10P108. This is a correction to line 5 through 10, page 108, to amend line 6, section 1, chapter 5 AA, Guam Fire Department, to read, this sum is composed of $38,658,704, struck out thousand, from the general fund, and $2,584,088 from the Enhanced 911 Emergency Reporting System Fund and the Fire, Life, and Emergency or Flame Fund. Clerk's Legal and Office of Finance and Budget will can make any technical corrections. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
On the amendment, seeing hearing no objections, amendment passes. Next amendment is SB 266 CMD L8-15P79. Senator Gumatauta, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, corrections needed to the substitute bill, line 8 through 15, page 79, to amend section 4 to chapter 5V, H, Department of Revenue and Taxation, to read, A, the sum of $1,698,598 is hereby appropriated from subsection H1 of this section to the Motor Vehicle Division for the operations of the Driver's License Division B, the sum of $2,821,683 is hereby appropriated from the subsection H1 of the section to the Taxpayer Service Division for the operations of the use tax collections, again, adding the term dollars in both sections A and B. Clerk's Legal and Office of Finance and Budget to make any technical corrections.
On the amendment, Senator Perez, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I did state on the record that there may have been unwittingly defunding of these divisions within the Department of Revenue and Taxation. So I understand that these sections were meant to be part of the performance-based budgeting. But if you look at subsection B of this amendment, this amount, $2,821,683, is the same amount that's allocated to the whole division. And the whole division has, I believe, 5 or 6 other functions within that division. And so what this would do, it would tie up that money for specifically used tax collections and nothing else of that particular division, and it might create chaos within the agency. And so I think this is the opportune time to make the amendment to this. Perhaps my suggestion would be, to create another amendment to address the performance-based budgeting in the miscellaneous provisions or miscellaneous appropriation chapter. My suggestion is to possibly, the simplest thing is to delete these section A, B, and even C. Well, A is okay because it's going to the whole division, but the problematic one is subsection B and subsection C because it unwittingly defunds the other parts of the operations within those divisions.
Okay, so we're doing the fix on the dollars here, and we have communicated with Rev and Tax for language that we'll be proffering in miscellaneous. So we'll be good to go. We need to fix this dollar amount, though.
Okay, so then basically, how do we fix this? Is I think the proper time to fix the subsection B.
We'll fix the appropriation first, and then later on we'll fix the. We're already working on that. Thank you, Senator. On the amendment, are there any objections? Amendment passes. We are now on amendment SB 266 TMT L23-26 P86. I am ruling this amendment out of order. It will be in order in the miscellaneous provisions.
Is that my amendment, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I object. Yeah. This is an amendment directly affecting and amending the appropriation for the police officers training cycle, which is in subsection 6M of this chapter.
Yes, the funding source and the appropriate portion of this is to be in miscellaneous because it will not affect, we don't want to affect the revenues. So the appropriate
It does not affect the revenues, Mr. Chair, again.
It does affect the revenues. It's inappropriate in this section.
It doesn't affect the FY27 revenues at all.
Do you wish to overrule the chair, Senator?
Mr. Chair, what is this rule that you're pulling again? Because this is, as you can see, an amendment to an existing section in this chapter. It's very obvious. It's to give, it's to double the amount of the police training cycles.
Senator, the funding source is not the 2027 budget. So
that's correct. It's the FY, so it doesn't affect any agency.
It belongs in the miscellaneous provisions. I've already ruled.
That is
like
contrary to practice in previous legislatures. It's a rule that you're just arbitrarily making. It's not a rule that you announce prior to anything, and it doesn't actually make sense.
Do you wish to overrule the chair?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chair. Again, you're making arbitrary rules.
There is a motion to overrule the chair. All in favor of overruling the chair, please raise your hand. Motion fails. Senator Gumatauto, you'll be recognized one more time for another technical amendment. That amendment is SB 266 CMD L1-5 P76.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, colleagues, as was mentioned at the very start of the session, important corrections needed. This is on line 1 through 5, page 76. to amend line 2, section 15, chapter 5, VG, Department of Administration, to read number 15, appropriation to the Department of Administration for WICHI, the sum of 180, correction on the spelling of 80, $9,500. Is appropriated from the general fund to the Department of Administration for the annual membership fee for the Western Interstate Commission for Higher Education, or WICHI, and ask the Clerk's Legal and Office of Finance and Budget to make any technical corrections.
On the amendment, are there any objections? Seeing here none, amendment passes. Colleagues, we are now on amendment SBB 266 TMT L16-20 P89. Much like the other one, it belongs in the miscellaneous provision section, so I'm ruling it out of order.
Mr. Chair, this amendment, just like the amendment you just passed right now, amends a subsection in this chapter. It's not a miscellaneous appropriation. It's amending the amount that's going to go to Department of Corrections officer recruits. And it's doubling that amount because it was underfunded.
It's using funding source FY 2026 excess, so it belongs in
That is,
miscellaneous.
again, there's no rule that says that, Mr. Chair, and that's contrary to
Senator,
practice
do you wish to
and
overrule the
contrary
chair?
to your rules that you stated in the beginning of our session.
Senator, do you wish to overrule the chair?
Yes, and I object to your arbitrary rules.
Okay, there's a motion to overrule the chair. All in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Motion fails. Colleagues, we are now on Amendment TTT, SBB 266 TTT L12 through -25 P73-74. Unfortunately, Senator, I'm going to rule this out of order because you did not bookmark the revenue section.
Mr. Chair, if I may, and ask the colleagues to reconsider that one, because I didn't bookmark it because it wasn't proffered. The amendment was not proffered yet. So how can I bookmark an area and I don't, you said to bookmark, but after the end of the chapter, that bookmark, we go back. Now that's what you said. We do the chapter, you bookmark within where we're discussing, and then we can go back to that. But same chapter. Then we go on to the next chapter. Same thing. If there's a bookmark in that, we go through it at the end of that chapter. It's bookmark. You go back to like chapter 2, for instance. So let me make that clear. So chapter 1 is the area within there. You bookmark it. Then when we finish chapter 1, I was told that we can go back to it. But how can I bookmark something that we're already ending that chapter? That's why this amendment did not bookmark chapter 1, because that's my interpretation.
Yeah.
Because if this doesn't pass, right, it can't go into 1. So I needed to have this pass first before even putting it in chapter 1.
Yeah, so the bookmarks of chapters, anything you're going to change in that chapter, it has to be bookmarked. And so we closed the chapter already, and it wasn't bookmarked.
Well, I was told that anything that was bookmarked in the chapter, we go back to at the end of the chapter of that particular, like number 1, we go through the whole thing, and if we bookmark something in there to go back to, I didn't know that we can go to other chapters, like now we're in this chapter 5, that I can go back to 1 from a bookmark. I thought the bookmark ends at the end of the chapter.
The bookmark ends at the end of the chapter, but if you're going to do something in another chapter, you have to bookmark the chapter and complete
That wasn't
the
explained to
amendment.
me.
That's exactly what I said from the beginning. It clearly states that you have to bookmark the chapter on any amendment that you're going to put in there. Once the chapter is closed, then you can no longer make an amendment into that chapter.
Mr. Chair, this amendment, it just simply does house cleaning. You know, it just puts the area of a loan that's given for the Teton High School in the section that discuss the obligations of the government of Guam.
I believe OFB explained that this has been the method of appropriation for the chapters for fiscal
For-
years
It was.
going forward.
As it was
And so
mentioned.
it's not out of order to be in the
It
place that
actually is because, Mr. Chair, what happened was the initial loan to this amendment was done through tax credits. So it was in the proper place under Department of Administration because it was still under tax credits. Now it's no longer a tax credit, but literally we have to put funding at the end of the year to cover a lease back. And if you look at Chapter 1, that's where all the lease backs are at. So it's just a simple housekeeping rule. We no longer have tax credits on this obligation. So that's why it should be moved. Now, for years, if the last 2 years it's been in this area and never moved, well, we caught it now. Now we can finally put it where it's supposed to be.
At this time, I'll ask for the chair to be overruled. Is there a motion to overrule the chair?
I overrule the chair.
And on that
All
motion,
in
Mr.
favor?
Chair,
Yes.
I agree with the sponsor of the amendment. She caught this, she's trying to correct it, she's trying to make our budget reflect the total amount of leasebacks that we are obligated for. And it changes nothing, no impact, no fiscal impact. And as you said, you really aren't sticking to the rule of doing the same thing in any chapter that we did in previous years. So there's really no reason not to move this to where it truly belongs.
There's a
I
motion
support
to
the
overrule the
amendment.
chair. All in favor
Yes.
of overruling the chair, please raise your hand. Motion fails. Colleagues, we have completed Chapter 5. We are now on Chapter 6, Legislative Branch. Anyone wish to speak on the legislative branch?
Yeah, so
Oh, it's correct. 1 minute recess. The Committee of the Whole is back in order. Colleagues, OFP will make a presentation on the legislature's budget at this time.
For FY 2026, $10,117,775. EBR, $10,117,775. S-Bill, $10,117,775. With the variance is 0. And then based on the May CRER, it's looking at $184,692.
Colleagues, we have a status quo budget. Is there any question on the legislature? Yes, Senator Tadigui.
What was our prior FY25 lapses in FY25?
Based on the September CRER, there's none.
0 lapses?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Legislature, Senator Barnett, you're recognized.
So just want to see, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to speak on the legislature's chapter. And again, good afternoon to the people of Guam watching on our YouTube channel. OFB, are you able to tell us, well, back in May, Resolution 175-38 was passed by the Committee on Rules. The resolution empaneled a special investigating subcommittee that was supposed to be convened to investigate $22.6 million in questioned federal fund costs and supported expenditures flagged in the Government of Guam's fiscal 24 audit. The investigation will focus on 5 major federal programs that received disclaimer opinions. The Special Investigative Subcommittee is chaired by the Chair of Finance. It holds blanket subpoena power, and it was granted a $150,000 budget and a 120-day timeline to produce an official report. So are you able to tell us how much of the $150,000, if any, has been expended for this special investigative subcommittee?
I will address that since it's my committee and it's my resolution. Senator, at this time, by the last meeting that we had, I have the authority to do this activity, which I have undertaken within my committee. We have expended none of the appropriation that's identified there. The money has not necessarily been, has not been recognized for the committee whatsoever, and the resolution for full transparency will be circulated because of the fiscal implications, but because I have not incurred nor have I established any account or taken any money from that appropriation that is not whole yet because it hasn't been circulated to the body. This resolution is simply a resolution.
I see. I was kind of, forgive my misunderstanding because
Sure.
it was all over the news, and I thought as much as you raised the alarm about these question findings that you would have already empaneled the committee. Am I allowed to ask what the status of that is?
My committee is doing it, and for full disclosure, we have had one meeting so far with the OPA and with the audit company that did the audit, EY, and we are moving forward.
Okay. So have you named the senators who are on this special investigative subcommittee?
Subsequent to that meeting, we are preparing that.
Okay. Thank you for the update.
Yep. The OPA was, like I said, was present. My staff, my committee staff were present. We took notes in terms of what the information was provided to us by EY, more detail in terms of what was in the audit. And so we are moving forward, and as soon as we put all that structure together, we will be tapping senators for the committee.
Thank you. Mr. Guerrero, are you able to provide any information on the controversial AI legislation drafting contract that was entered into with Trist Guam LLC? As you know, this very controversial contract was eventually terminated and canceled by the Committee on Rules chair. Now, this contract, although it had a listed cost of right around $200,000, there were many hidden charges and fees contained in the contract It's my understanding as a sitting senator that the basic terms of the contract, which part of it was to allow senators access to this Tris Guam LLC, Talleyrand AI legislative drafting platform. We were supposed to have access to this on June 1st of 2026. However, just speaking for my office, we never received any communication, any access. And in talking to some of my colleagues, I think they're sharing the same information. So my question is, although the contract was terminated, it's my understanding that a payment was made to this vendor, even though well, I'm hoping to find out if a payment was made to this vendor, even though the contract was terminated and the basic tenets of the contract were not met by the vendor. So how much has been paid? Are you able to look in your computer and tell us how much was paid to this vendor and what the payment was for if the contract was terminated and the terms were not met?
I believe, Senator, my information, I was told that prior to the contract being terminated, there was some expenses incurred as a result of the contract. I believe the amount of the expenditures ranged anything from $12,000 to $15,000 of what I was told. And that is the extent I know of any expenditures against that obligation.
Is that you don't have a concrete figure? It's somewhere in the range of $12,000 to $15,000 that was paid to this vendor who failed to meet the terms of the contract? Even though the contract was terminated, there was still a payment made? I
can try to get an exact amount to see how much actually it was, but I was just told that since the contract was effectuated and until the time the contract was terminated, there were some costs incurred during that period of time. And that's the cost that I believe is being paid for.
Okay. And you don't have the dollar amount of the payment that was made?
I'll try to get that for you, sir.
Does anybody in the body have the dollar amount? I mean, I'm pretty sure there's some senators sitting here on the floor who have better access than you do, Mr. Guerrero. And I think it would behoove them to maybe just willingly share the information with the body.
Other than what I just told you, Senator, I have not been given any other information regarding that.
Okay. Sidos Masi.
On the legislature status quo budget, anyone else to speak? Senator Talal, you recognize.
Thank you. So I just wanted to clarify. So in May, there was a big press release and announcements made in the media that the legislature was convening a committee to investigate the FY24 audit findings of, $22 million in question costs, disclaimer opinions, 7 qualified opinions, 18 repeat findings, 298 days of audit delay, and systematic documentation and procurement failures across multiple agencies. And so by resolution of the Committee on Rules, I'm seeing now that they ordered a formal investigative process to determine whether a policy and legislative response is necessary to safeguard public funds, the public interest, and the public trust. And for purposes of expediency relative to urgency, the investigative scope was going to focus only on the 5 disclaimer opinions of the audit. And then it was convened a special investigative committee. It says the committee chair was going to name the 4 additional members to represent both parties of the legislature. And they appropriated supposedly $150,000 for these proceedings. And it says, such proceedings, except as otherwise indicated by this resolution, shall be conducted in the public domain, utilizing the multimedia resources of the Legislature in Guam, and that they can incur $150 for professional, investigative, and legal advisory service related to the work of the subcommittee. The work and findings of these professional, investigative, and legal advisory services shall be privileged to the subcommittee only. And testimony from witnesses may be under seal when pertaining to personnel matters, matters that may overlap with ongoing federal proceedings or procurement-sensitive information. And then it says that this shall conclude in 120 days, which is September 2, 2026. So I guess just two questions. One is, so you're saying that this committee has not been formed yet since May and still intends to end by September 2, 2026, according to this resolution?
For those parameters of the resolution, yes. The resolution can also be substituted and amended. Senator, I will re-explain.
That's all. That's my question.
No. I will. No, you asked the question.
Yes.
Of the committee, so I'm gonna re-explain. In my research,
I heard the first time.
in my research looked into former committees such that were formed and recognized the resolution is a formality. I have the power under my committee to do an investigation, and so that's why I've used my own resources, my own people to conduct this, and I met once again with the Committee on Rules to say, we will hold off on circulating for funding because I'm using my own office personnel and my own funding to do what I need to do. If I need to come back for additional resources, then I will, and the rest of the parameters of the resolution will be worked into once I put the formal investigation together after the current findings that I'm putting together.
All right, so you're saying this is pretty much moot. The legislature as a body is not doing any investigation, and that your office may be doing one in private, that the proceedings are not conducted in the public domain as required by this, nor are you hiring a professional investigative or legal advisory service right now. And so pretty much those are just kind of private committee matters?
I am the legislature, along with you, Senator, and I have the power to do so, and I do not have to move on those parameters of the resolution until we vote on the resolution for funding and the parameters set therewith. I can do the investigation as the committee chair on finance, and so that's what I'm doing with my resources.
So the meeting with the OPA and your committee staff with no other committee members was that public?
No,
utilizing the multimedia resource of Legislature in Guam?
No, because
right.
I am not operating under the resolution. I am operating under the chairman of the Committee on Finance and Government Operations.
All right, so is, because, yeah, when I first heard it, and I heard that the committee's work was going to be to come up with recommendations of legislation that might be needed to protect, it had a very good purpose. It was to protect the public, to safeguard public funds, the public interest, and the public trust. Yeah, I would think that those recommendations would be very appropriate to consider while we're in these budget sessions, making these appropriations for FY27, to make sure that that does not happen again, that if there were any additional parameters we need to put down, that we put them down very clearly for these funds that we are appropriating to these agencies and to the executive branch and to the other branches. But, all right, that answers my questions. Thank you.
The work is arduous, but we look to
I didn't ask any question, Mr. Chair.
Have those findings.
Thank you.
But I made a comment. On the legislative status quo budget, anyone else wish to speak on the legislature status quo budget? Seeing and hearing none, chapter is closed. Chapter 7 is now open. It is Office of the Attorney General, page 123. OFB, please make your presentation.
For FY 2026, 22,214,080. EBR, 22,214,080. S-Bill, 214,080. And then the difference between S-Bill and EBR, 0. From the May CRER lapse, It's looking at $5,870,950.
Office of the Attorney General. Senator Taitigui, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is this lapse accumulative from years past all at once, or it's just for FY26?
Based on the May CRR, it's just for FY 2026.
5 million. Did the Attorney General mention how they have liability and with regards to paying attorneys, that they're still pending, and that it's been difficult to get any of the funding to them? The lapse might show lapses, but is that money still with the governor's office or DOA to provide to the Attorney General so that they have that funding in hand?
Yes, Senator. In our conversation with the Attorney General, he did indicate that he was having difficulties in trying to meet his obligation, his contractual obligations, especially for the services of those attorneys that he put on contract, and that he was also encountering problems of receiving his allotment in a timely manner.
Which means the lapses that he has right now is lapses because DOA or BBMR is not giving him his funding that is needed. This is a very critical agency. Everybody's sitting there talking about the epidemic, the drug epidemic on this island. They talk about people who have been put into prison and then released, and next thing you know, they cause another a crime that someone might even get hurt on. I mean, there's just so many issues that we have on this island when it comes to the safety of our people that we can't even enforce the law or penalize these individuals because we don't have enough funds for the Attorney General's office, not from our detriment. We appropriate it to him. The problem is BBMR and DOA giving him the funding so they can hire these attorneys. When you go out to hire an individual, you have to have the money in the bank ready to go. And a lot of times they don't. They make it very, very difficult. And we all know what's happening. The governor and the Attorney General at odds with each other. And how the governor is, not criticizing, but making it very difficult for the Attorney General to do his job. But who gets hurt in the end with this rift? It's the people. So as far as his lapses are concerned, Mr. Chair, and OFB, this is funding that was due to them, not a lapse because it wasn't of his demise. They intentionally are trying to sabotage the Attorney General's office. He does more than just put criminals away and make sure they're put away for a long time. He looks at price gouging. Stores that are not following the law to ensure that we are not getting ripped off. White-collar crimes in the government. He reviews OPA reports, finding out certain agencies with high-ranking positions are questionable in what they do day to day or how they spend their money. Who's going to protect you? Really, ask yourself. Something happens to you or your family, who's going to come to your rescue? The Attorney General. If somebody's ripping off this government of Guam, who's going to come to the rescue? The Attorney General. So you wipe him out and his ability to hire individuals, there's nobody who's going to protect you. Sure, you can call a police officer, but unless this individual is charged, he's going to get out the very next day and most likely do it again. So my amendment coming up is not because he can't use the money or that he's got so much of it. It's because they made it very difficult for him to get it in the first place. Again, he should not be penalized because of the rift that he's having with the governor. It's only hurting the people of Guam when you do that.
Thank you, Senator. On the Attorney General, anyone else wish to speak on the Attorney General's office?
I have a question.
Yes.
What were the lapses in, are you able to track what the lapses were dating back to 2022?
Senator, can I just do it up to 2024?
I'd like to see when the previous Attorney
Okay.
General.
For now, I'll just prevent on 2025 and 2024 while I pull up the information. So from the September CRER for 2025, the CRER lapse or funds available for OAG was $5,882,780. From the FY 2024 audit, it was $4,063,000, and hold for the other years. I have the 2023 audit, which is $323,567, and I'm pulling up the 22 audit right now.
Mr. Chair, just to save time while they're looking, I just wanted to also do a point of information. It's not just crime, but a lot of the procurement issues that we have in the government of Guam all have to go through the Attorney General's office as well. So that's something else that needs to be considered, the procurement process. And that's why a lot of them are held up, the purchasing. Thank you.
I'm going to take a recess because I also want to get the budgets for those years. I think that's going to be appropriate since we're going that far back. The legislature's back in order. Senator Montanani, what I did so that there's proper perspective, I had them pull up the budget for that year, going back to 22, and the lapses. So because the thing is that there's differences in the budget amounts, so you want to have the true story of what was the budget, what was the lapses. OFP, please make the presentation.
Okay, going back from FY 2022, their budget appropriation was $14,872,009. Based on the FY 2022 audit, they had a surplus, since it's an audit, of $2,463,816. From FY 2022, their budget appropriation was $15,719,803. And from the audit, has a surplus of $323,567.
That's FY 23.
Correct.
Yeah, so, okay.
And then moving forward for FY 2024, their budget appropriation was $18,870,277, with the audit for FY 2024 showing $4,063,000. And for FY 2025, their budget appropriation was $21,798,530, showing from the September CRER, $5,882,780. And then for FY 2026, their level is $22,126,390. And from the May CRER, $5,870,950.
Yeah, so I want to show this legislature's commitment. We went from almost 15 million to 22. So I think we've been pretty committed to the Department of Law.
We've done with all agencies. Oh, I'm sorry.
Senator Montanani, you have the floor.
It's okay. That's all I wanted.
Okay, on the Attorney General, is there anyone else who wishes to speak? AG's office? Senator San Agustin.
I wasn't clear. Is there any lapse?
Yes, this year there's 5 million lapses.
5 million in lapse? I think everybody else wants to speak. Maybe I'll allow them to speak first so that that can continue, right?
No, you're the one who has the floor.
Okay.
We've had.
I just want to make sure because I'm just curious about
yeah.
$5 million. If they're lapsing $5 million, can OB see that they have the ability to spend it? Yes or no? Before September comes around. He's probably going to say no. $5 million is a lot of money to spend in 3 months or in 2.
The lapse report as of May in the CR, sir, is indicating they have approximately $5.8 million in lapses.
5.8. Could you give me what was their lapse last year? Just curious. Sapurera lapse.
From the FY 2025 September CRER, $5,882,780.
What was it? Last year was five also?
Based on the report, sir, yes.
So, Mr. Chairman, since they're identifying there's a lapse, do we have to bookmark this chapter to identify, to draw that money to give it to the agency that needs it?
Yeah, the problem is you can't go back in the chapter, so you'll have to go forward if you're going to do that.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at.
But
well, there's
yeah.
there's another chapter to move that money to.
But we're not appropriating lapses, sir. There's no carryover, and we're not appropriating lapses.
Oh, okay. So that means it's gone.
It's gone.
Oh, okay, that's a better sound. Yeah. Now.
It will be gone. It will be gone when the fiscal year is over.
Based on the budget amount that's given to them for 2027, what's the difference with last year?
Status quo.
Status quo. So we just want to keep them lapsing every year. No, that's a very good statement. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. That doesn't sound good, but I understand. We're trying to support the Department of Law.
Attorney General's office. Yes, Senator Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Attorney General's office is one that I feel we as a body have really bungled. Not necessarily this legislature, but just the branch in general throughout its history, from how it became an appointed position to how it became an elected one. I always feel that the way it was done initially was very flawed. Our system allows us to have an office of an Attorney General and an office of a public prosecutor. Many jurisdictions separate these duties as well. Not all of them do, but a lot of them do. And the reason is because, it answers the fundamental question of who watches the watchers. In a system that has an Attorney General and a public prosecutor, when the public prosecutor's office is guilty of some malfeasance, the Attorney General's office will prosecute and enforce. And by that same token, if there's some problems with the government or the Attorney General's office, the public prosecutor will enforce. When we had and appointed the Attorney General, we unified both of those duties under one office, and it was problematic. So we changed the law so that it was an elected position, and we put all those same duties on that same elected official. And we're still seeing problems with it. My colleagues, the problem is not whether this position is elected or appointed. The problem is that we are putting multiple hats onto one position. And this Attorney General has been unable to separate these conflicts, so we're leading to absurd positions where people are being prosecuted by the Attorney General's office based on legal advice they received from the Attorney General's office. And this legislature has thoroughly just basically advocated its oversight over his Attorney General, because we have these incredibly offensive signs all over the island advertising his brand of crime fighting. We have open nepotism in that office where he is proudly comparing himself to JFK as he hires his family members. And we see this constant back and forth. The Attorney General's office was never meant to be a veto over the governor's office. For many of you in this chamber who are aspiring to be governor yourself, ask yourself, do you want somebody else to have unilateral veto power over the executive branch? That was never, we all know that was never how this office was intended to operate. So, while we talk about the Attorney General's office, I ask my colleagues to reconsider legislation to separate those offices while we have a new election before us. So that way, the next Attorney General can have a clean slate, whether we separate it into public prosecutors or not. But we need to do something because it's clear that the way we put this down in the first place generations ago is not working. All we're seeing is constant bickering back and forth between the governor's office and the Attorney General's office. And you best believe if we change nothing, we will see the same thing in the future, regardless of who is governor and who is Attorney General. Now, regardless of who is governor, I want to build things like hospitals and schools, and we need cooperation to do that. So we need to harmonize this position, and we need to separate the office of the Attorney General to one that's an Attorney General appointed by the governor again, and then another elected public office. Who watches the watchers? Let's have some harmony. Agencies shouldn't have to be second-guessing that the legal advice they receive from the Attorney General's office will then be used by the same Attorney General's office to prosecute them. That's just absurd. It's absurd that we get to openly hire our family members, that we find evidence of meth in the office of the Attorney General, and we are not asking questions about that, not asking for accountability there. So I've got some serious concerns about this office, and so I think a status quo budget with no return of the lapses is appropriate. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
On the Office of the Attorney General budget, anyone else wish to speak? Seeing and hearing none, the chapter is closed.
Mr. Chair, are we going through amendments too once the chapter is closed?
Yes, I wasn't aware of any amendments.
There is. I believe there is one.
I'll take a recess. I understood there was one that was rescinded, but I'll take a recess at this point. Colleagues, there are no amendments in the drive, and so we are moving on. We are done with legal services. We are now on the Mayor's Council of Guam. Please make your presentation, OFB.
For the Mayor's Council, current appropriation is $18,180,946. EBR, $20,180,940. S-bill, $18,340,346. Variance between S-bill and EBR is negative $1,840,600. From the May CRER, anticipated lapse is $2,879,009.
Wait, where are we?
We are on the Mayor's Council
I
of
think we
Guam.
skipped the public defender.
Oh. Okay, sorry about that. I jumped over. I rescind the Mayor's Council of Guam chapter. We're not there yet. Page 125, Public Defender Services Corporation. OFB, please make your presentation.
Okay, so for Public Defender, FY 2026, $10,262,794. EBR, $11,698,308. S-bill, $11,498,308. S-bill versus EBR, negative $200,000. Based on the May CRER, anticipated 49,000 lapse.
Thank you for the catch, Senator. On Public Defender Corporation, Senator Taidigu, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Vanessa, I'm sorry, the lapse was what?
49,837.
Okay. I had the opportunity to call Public Defender's Office yesterday just to see if they were okay with this funding and find out exactly how much their lapses are. And according to them, their lapses are $700,000. That's what they told me. So hearing that it's only 49,836 makes me wonder, what are you reading on the CRER? Are you reading these lapses from the CRE report? And how old are this report for these lapses? Well, maybe I'm thinking they have it in real time versus, but can you tell us the date of which these lapses that you see are incurring?
As I said earlier, Senator, when we calculated the lapses, we used the May CER report. Whatever the showing is, the balances of the May, we project that out to the remaining of the fiscal year. That's basically how we come up with the lapses. Now, anytime between May, June, July, August, September, there could be vast changes in their accounts. But as of May, that's exactly what it showed when we projected it out based on an average monthly estimate of what they would lapse at the end of the year.
Well, just so that my colleagues know, these so-called lapses may not be true to form, because I wanted to make sure, especially I'm an oversight chair with regards to Public Defender, and I make the effort to give a call to the office to have them tell me about their lapses. However, just to be transparent as well, I asked them would they be able to spend that $700,000 in lapses that they incur right now, and they said yes, they would, because a lot of the billing had to do with the private attorney panel, which they still need to pay for February, March, April, and May. But it's just hearing you tell me certain lapses now, it's not accurate. So I think, and then again, it's just a month's difference. So it could tell you that even though there are lapses of $5 million, that this could be utilized by the end. So I'm not getting excited about any additional funding from these lapses if we don't allow these agencies to use it. It could be very minimal. But that being said, there was no discussion, there was no issue on the 10,098,309. However, last year, they received an additional 164,486 on top of the 1,435,514 for the private attorney panel, which that means even though there was a decrease in the private attorney panel, they still have the ability to use the Better Public Service Fund that by law through the courts, the fees that they generate go to this particular, by law, goes to this particular panel, I mean the private attorney panel. And for people who don't understand what a private attorney panel, these are attorneys that are assigned by the judges. If one cannot be afforded to, if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be afforded to you. That's what this is all about. So other than that, thank you, Mr. Chair.
On public defender, anyone else wish to speak? Seeing and hearing none, chapter's closed. Okay, now we are on the Mayor's Council of Guam. Please, one more time, make the presentation OFB.
FY 2026, 18,180,946. EBR, 20,180,946. OFB S-bill, 18,340,346. Variance between S-bill and EBR, negative 1,840,600. Based from the May CRER report, anticipated lapse of $2,879,009.
Mr. Chair,
yes.
When you're saying anticipated lapses, that's not accurate. It's just based on the CRER May report. So it's important that they don't, I mean, Vanessa, you said, anticipated. I don't think it's anticipated. We're looking off of a report in May, so we still have 4 more months to go. So.
Yeah, Senator, this is a tracking that OFB has been doing since OFB existed. And Steve, why don't you speak to that again in terms of the history and how that has ended up to be pretty much accurate throughout all the fiscal years that you've been doing this?
Well, Mr. Chair, with all due respect, we were told that they're reading off of the CRER report for May, and they were just explaining that they don't know what's going to happen June, July, August, and that these numbers, that's what was told to us just a few minutes ago.
Correct.
So now I just wanted to make sure.
Correct, but that's not a perfect characterization of exactly what happens and their methodology. And that's why I think it's important for that information to be clear, not just on that statement. Go ahead, Steve.
Again, Senators, the way we calculate the lapses is we take the actual expenditures of the department as of the last CER report issued, in this case, which was the May CER report. Since there's 8 months that have elapsed from the beginning of the fiscal year to May, you calculate, you divide that total amount, and this is just an estimate, simple way of kind of figuring out what the lapses are. It's not no down-to-earth, pinpoint scientific way, but it's just the way we've been calculating lapses for the longest time. And you figure out what the monthly cost is over that 8-month period based on your total expenditures. Lo and behold, there's 4 more months left in the fiscal year. Whatever that average is, you multiply times 4 to project out for the remaining of the fiscal year. So you take what has been expended as of May, plus the remaining 4 months you anticipate based on the current expenditure rate of the agency, you'll get an estimate. You take that estimate and you subtract it basically from the appropriation. That's how we come up with the lapses. We're not saying this is to the T. We're just saying that's an estimated amount that the departments and agencies might end up at the end of the year. Between now and the end of the year, there's 4 months. Anything can happen. But I'm just saying, based on their expenditure trend, you can safely assume that's going to be their cash position at the end of the fiscal year.
Thank you, Steve. I just wanted to make sure that when you're saying that there are estimated lapses versus, you know, CRER as of May, I wanted to know which one we're doing here. Now you're saying this is an estimated projection of how much lapses they're going to have at the end of the fiscal year. Is that the numbers you've been giving us, or just based on the May CRER?
Let me see if I understand what you're asking
Okay,
me.
Steve, you know what? It's so simple. It just says you're looking at a CRER report. I've seen it. The speaker showed me the report, and to estimate how much excess, or not excess, unexpended funds each agency has, to try and give it a take. So actually, if you look at the other one, the one I think it was May that he was showing me, or June, that it was estimated at $18 million in lapses that may happen, right? But then you calculate 4 more months down the line, you're looking conservatively about $14 million. You had 18 million, so looking at conservative, about 14 million if everybody runs and finishes it. Because this is the first time, I think this year, that, you know, the foot has been held down, not just by this body, by this, you know, OFB or the appropriation, but by the administration mentioning that lapses will not be allowed. So every agency now realize, okay, they have to go out and do as much procurement as they can to spend their funding instead of let it lapse. So anyways, that's what I was trying to say. Just let us know if this is your projected at the end of the fiscal year of how much the Mayor's Council will have, or is this number you're giving us on lapses as of May 2026? That's all I'm asking. That's it, simple.
Yes, Senator, so that's exactly what it is. It's benchmarked all the way up to May based on the trend throughout their spend pattern. Also, that's why we've been giving you prior years, because you can see the pattern is there. So that's why the OFB director says, I've been proven right at the end of all these fiscal years, because we're giving you the prior fiscal years, and the lapses are perennial. Every year they're coming out to be close to what was estimated and close to what we're tracking.
Okay, so again, once again, just to be clear, the number you're giving for lapses is what's projected at the end of the fiscal year.
As of May, if it continues to track that way, yes.
So the end of the fiscal year. Okay,
And keep in mind, and BBMR is not shy about it when they come here, this year they closed off procurement in March for a lot of the agencies. And those agencies told us that in pre-budget meetings. So you can tell me that they're all rushing, unless they rush down to BBMR and get them to change their policy, they're not going to be buying much. The other situation is DOA. I want to put this on the record, because that's why the director said he's not blaming the agencies. DOA has a serious problem right now in processing, what do you call that?
Procurements.
No, not only
the purchases.
Not only purchases, but GG1s for recruitment. And agencies are telling us that. So the reality is, but that's been perennial, and that's why we're saying, we tell these agencies, we hope it changes next year. And if it does, then here we go. But if it doesn't, this is why we continue along these lines, and this is why the historical data is showing what it's showing. So if procurement ended basically March, and they're having a problem getting their GG1s, chances are this will be a reality. On the Mayor's Council of Guam. Mayor's is closed. Oh, Senator Tulay, you're recognized. I didn't see your hand.
I also raised my hand.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Senator, okay, I guess there's a lot of courtesy here. Senator Tulay, you're recognized.
I just, on that last note, when you said DOA is kind of no longer processing GG1s or procurement as of March, does that affect the Mayor's Council? Because they're processing their own, aren't they?
Yeah, it does not affect them.
Okay.
They manage their cash.
All right, and then you said 2 million in lapses. Can you tell us where that was lapsing? Like, is that the abandoned vehicle money that they just didn't want to use anymore, or something else?
Yes, Senator, their appropriation is given in a lump sum. It'd be difficult to determine where exactly in their budget they're lapsing.
Even the abandoned vehicle money from last term, wasn't that separate? Because it comes from the other fund.
Yeah, the 2 million that we're quoting here, Senator, is just the balance of the general fund.
Okay. So, all right. So you have no, we didn't have a budget hearing for the mayors, did we?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
then.
Oh, no, actually, I communicated with them and they were okay with their budget.
Okay, so there is no hearing. Yeah, I'm just concerned about them, I guess.
But we did communicate with them, and I communicated with the president, and they said they were okay.
To lose the lapses?
They're okay with their level because they're lapsing.
Okay. All right. And then this Southern Coastal Villages paddling pilot program. It doesn't include the village of Talafofo or Jotnya. And I was just wondering, I didn't catch that earlier, but is it possible to make an amendment to add those?
You can put it in miscellaneous.
I know, but it
But
needs to be in this section.
we opened the chapter already, Senator.
All right, is this is the bill that had a public hearing?
We communicated with them. We did not have a public hearing because they were okay. They actually had a public hearing scheduled, and then the storm,
Yeah.
Silaku. And after that, I discussed it with them. They were very busy, and they said, we're okay with the levels that you... Keep in mind, the Mayor's Council of Guam has doubled in their appropriation since 2018. Excuse me, since the 2024 budget. It was 9.8, and now it's tracking at close to $19 million.
Yeah, all right, yeah, I'm sure they won't object to this because this is additional money to them. Oh, no, it's allocated. So does that mean they have to use it for this, or they may use it? Sometimes it says may in the language. This one says is hereby allocated. So would they be able to use this for something else, or it's, well, no, it says shall be allocated. So no
Yes.
choice, right?
It's for that program.
All right, yeah, I'm sure that would have been caught if there was a hearing that there's some villages that are missing there, but thank you.
Senator Montanani, then Senator Burnett.
Thank you. What did you say the lapses were again?
$2,879,009.
Was that what it was in May also? Yes?
The information that we have is as of May.
Awesome. Okay. Okay, so yeah, I just been communicating with the Mayor's Council of Guam president, and he said their lapses, well, from what he understood, based on what you have been saying, because I also kind of thought that when you said May, when you were referencing the May CRER report, I thought it was as of May. But according to the Mayor's Council of Guam president, they're not going to have any lapses by the end of this fiscal year. So they plan on spending everything by that time. And he also contends that they are still $1.8 million short. So just wanted to make sure. $1.8 million short.
That's different than what their trend is, but we can discuss with them.
Thank you.
Yep. Senator Burnett.
I guess if you could, just following up on the senator's question, do we know why they believe they're $1.8 million short, and where are they seeing that $1.8 million shortchanging?
That's not it. Yeah. Steve's got that.
One of the areas, Senator, they asked for an increase was for the village operations, the maintenance, beautification, public safety, which is called ROMS, of about 422,000.
Dispensa, Mr. Guerrero, can you repeat that?
The area of the request, they asked for an increase over the FY26, was for the maintenance, actually village operated maintenance, beautification, public safety program.
Are you able to share with us any details about that program and what it does?
Well, according to this, it's the program basically is for the operation and maintenance, beautification, and public safety programs of the mayor's office in consonance with the established missions and mandates under the jurisdiction of the effective mayor's offices of fiscal year 27.
So these are different partnerships that they undergo with government agencies, like I'm assuming public safety would be some type of partnership with the Guam Police Department?
Doesn't indicate here that it's going to be in consonance with departments and agencies. It just says with the respective mayor's offices. So I guess all the mayor's offices are going to get together and try to get this program up and running. But you didn't mention anything about other departments and agencies, at least on what.
Well, it kind of sounds like they're not going to be able to get together and get these programs running because this is where they are being shorted $1.8 million, correct?
Well, they also asked, yeah, well, yeah, I think part of the increase basically was also to do the maintenance of the grass cutting and rental of heavy equipment to come up with, I believe, that $1 million request.
So this is the area that's going to be impacted then, the mayor's ability to rent heavy equipment when they're out in the villages responding, I guess, to, for example, typhoons.
Yeah, I believe they have a separate appropriation for that, Senator, and they also work in conjunction with, I guess, during emergency times like that with GPD and Public Works.
Yeah, it just sounds kind of concerning when the president of the Mayor's Council of Guam, who, you know, has his head on really straight when he comes to senators, and even though we have some in here who are patting themselves on the back because the mayor's budget has doubled, apparently, according to the mayors themselves, they're still being shortchanged. Well, you know who ain't being shortchanged? There's a theme going on here. When we take 40 millions off the top, that's the first order of business, literally in this budget. That means, as you said, Mr. Guerrero, and as some prominent members of the majority have said, it leads to limited resources for our mayors to be able to do things like beautify their villages, to be able to do things like run public safety programs. So again, we see the impact here to the people of Guam when we prioritize the interests of the biggest of the big businesses over the interests and needs of the people out at the village level that the mayors serve. So thank you, Mr. Chair, for letting me lodge these concerns on the record. And si Dos Masi OFB.
Mayor's Council of Guam. Senator San Agustin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, as I look at the chapter here, it identifies the Mayor's Council with 16,965,342, correct?
And then the others.
Right? I'm just looking at page 127. And if you add, and I know it's obvious, or maybe it's not, section 2, 3, is not and section 4 is not added into the 16,965, correct? 16 million? Steve, if you can correct me if I'm...
That's correct, Senator. It's an outright appropriation.
It's separate from the general fund appropriation, correct?
That's correct.
So when we add that all together, then it comes up to, they're getting 18,363,46, correct?
Yes.
Something like that?
That's correct.
Okay. What did they get last year again? Total of everything, all the section combined. Did they get this basically about the same amount?
You were talking about the FY26, Senator. Their
Yes.
total appropriation is $18,180,946.
So they're getting more this year by a couple hundred, 200,000.
We gave an additional $159,000 more, yes.
Okay. I just noticed that in this document, you didn't identify what, there's 2 villages that get additional money from a different source? The host, you got like a couple 100,000? Because solid waste thing? And the reason I'm asking that, Steve, is because some of the mayors are going to be thinking, hey, I'm not getting enough. They're going to have to say, you're not a host. The host will get separate amount. And if you remember correctly, we had attempted to try to break down their budget by villages. And at one point they agreed to it and then they disagreed and then now they're back to the way they need to figure it out themselves. But I think they need to understand that, and all the other mayors need to understand that host villages get a separate amount. And when they divvy up the $18 million, they need to keep an account of what those hosts are getting so they can find a balance somewhere. Because we like to say that they're only traveling on our roads. No. They travel all over the island. They travel on everybody's roads. Guam Solid Waste, when they pick up their trash in Zigu or Nagañas, they're traveling on everybody's roads, but they don't get no host money. So I just wanted to make sure that's understood. And the reason why is because at one point, I think in your budget, you identified that there's a $2 million cut, no? In the Mayor's Council?
In the miscellaneous.
Somewhere? I was looking at the total package, and I don't see that because it's almost the same. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I made that clear. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Mayor's Council of Guam? Anyone? Okay. Say again?
Point of inquiry.
Yes.
Yes. You said, what was the current fiscal year? Yeah, current fiscal year appropriation?
18,180,946.
Does that include the amendment in the miscellaneous provisions from FY26?
No, that's a one-time appropriation.
No.
Okay, and what was that appropriation again?
$2 million, but that's not fixed costs. It didn't go into their fixed costs.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I think their tracking on that is about 300,000 expenditure, not even close to the 2 million. Mayor's Council, Senator Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to, continue with the theme of the day of the things that are being shortchanged. And, maintenance is one of those things that in times when things are being squeezed, it's easy to feel like this is where we can cut some corners and not really feel the pinch today. But the thing about deferring or delaying or pushing aside maintenance in these subtle ways is that they rear their ugly heads in worse ways down the road. And one of the things I've come to understand about Guam in all my years here is that Guam is a never-ending public works project. That if we started on one end of the island and just dedicated all we can to fixing every single problem, that by the time we got to the northern part of the island, we'd have to start all over again because new problems pop up, and you know, because of our environments and our climate, environment just eats up infrastructure like crazy. And so it's with that in mind that we should be more diligent about not deferring these maintenance costs, because from what I understand, this budget is doing its best to keep all the warm bodies in place and make sure that no things aren't cut that people will really feel. And maintenance is one of those things that you really don't feel right away, but you do feel it. You do feel it. And it nags at you. It becomes that awning in the school where kids would walk under and things don't get, and water just flows down on it. It's street lights at a basketball court that don't get fixed. And I know as a kid, I grew up on the basketball courts of Guam, and they kept me out of trouble. You know, while there were other people who were gangbanging or doing drugs, I was playing on well-maintained parks. I was in my community centers learning karate. I was at my local church going to Mass. And that starts with maintaining what we have. That starts with focusing on what the priorities are. Is the priorities doing the greatest amount of good for the greatest amount of people? Or are the priorities doing the greatest amount of good for a certain type of person? I would hope that we would be the former. And that's why I can't support some of these trends that I'm seeing in our budget, because I know they don't have to be this way. I constantly bring up the figure about $120 million, and that's because in the first year, that's how much a 0.5% BPT cost is, $40 million. In the second year, that 0.5% is now $80 million over 2 years. And if we add another 0.5% to it this year, that's $120 million. What could we have done with $120 million? Probably not solve all of the island's problems, but boy, we could have sure given it a good effort. And I actually don't hate some of these practices we're doing with the lapses and stuff. You know, I worked in the federal government for a lot of time. I know what it's like to work with use it or lose it budgets. But we can't be implementing that as a way to pay for an ill-advised tax cut rather than reinvesting it into our community. So, yeah, I just wanted to echo the sentiments of the retiring speaker. Let's not start cutting corners on maintenance, because it comes back to haunt us in the long term. And with that, Mr. Chair, I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Mayor's Council of Guam. Anyone else wish to speak? Seeing and hearing none, chapter is closed. Colleagues, we will recess until 08:30 tomorrow. We are in recess.